Have you ever wondered why people will wait in line for hours to pay premium prices for Apple products when there are cheaper alternatives with nearly identical features? In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the single-story framework that transformed Apple from a failing company on the verge of bankruptcy into the world's first $3 trillion brand. If you're a business owner, marketer, or creator who wants to stand out in a crowded marketplace and attract premium clients, pay close attention. Because this isn't about technology or features. It's about something much more powerful. The truth is, Apple's success has almost nothing to do with its products and everything to do with a specific storytelling formula that triggers psychological buying decisions most companies completely miss. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to use this same framework in your own business, regardless of your industry. But first, let me show you how powerful this really is. Before we dive in, hit that like button if you're ready to learn the storytelling secrets behind the world's most valuable company. Point 1. Apple's near-death experience. Let's start with a shocking fact most people forget. Apple was just 90 days from bankruptcy in 1997. Their stock had plummeted, they were losing market share rapidly, and they had a confusing product lineup that nobody understood. When Steve Jobs returned to Apple that year, the company wasn't just struggling, it was dying. Most experts predicted Apple would disappear completely within months. This is important to understand because it's the foundation of the entire story that would transform everything. Jobs didn't just need better products. He needed a completely different way to position Apple in the marketplace. Think about your own business for a moment. Are you competing on features, specs, and price? Are you blending in with everyone else in your industry? This was Apple's exact problem. They were trying to compete on technical specifications against bigger companies with more resources. But what Jobs realized next changed everything. Point 2. The storytelling shift that saved everything. When Jobs returned to Apple, he made a decision that seemed insane at the time, but proved to be marketing genius. He stopped talking about products and started telling a story about identity. The famous Think Different campaign launched in 1997 didn't mention a single product feature. Instead, it told a story about the type of person who uses Apple products. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes. This wasn't just a clever ad. It was the beginning of a complete storytelling revolution in marketing. Jobs understood something fundamental about human psychology. People don't buy products. They buy stories that reinforce their identity. Imagine for a moment what would happen if you stopped trying to convince clients about your features and instead told a story that made them feel understood at an identity level. This is exactly what Apple did. Picture yourself walking into a room full of potential clients. Instead of listing features and benefits, you tell a story that makes them think, this person understands exactly who I am and who I want to become. How would that change your conversion rate? The results for Apple were immediate and dramatic. Within a year, Apple had returned to profitability. But this was just the beginning of their storytelling transformation. Point 3. The 4-part framework behind Apple's core story. What most marketers miss is that Apple has been telling essentially the same story for over 20 years. It's a narrative framework with 4 specific components that you can apply to any business. Here's the 4-part framework Apple uses in almost every marketing campaign. Villain identification. Apple always establishes a clear enemy in their story. Initially, it was IBM 1984 commercial. Then it was the complex, confusing technology industry as a whole. Later, it became the status quo and conventional thinking. Hero empowerment. Apple never positions itself as the hero of the story. You, the customer, are the hero. Apple is just the guide that gives you the tools to express your true self. Identity reinforcement. Every Apple message reinforces a specific identity. Creative, innovative, different, sophisticated. They're not selling products. They're selling membership in an identity tribe. Simplicity promise. In a complex world, Apple promises simplicity. It just works became a powerful story hook in a world of complicated technology. But there's a critical element most businesses miss when trying to copy this approach. Point 4. How Steve Jobs weaponized identity in marketing. What made Jobs a marketing genius wasn't just understanding identity. It was his ability to weaponize it by creating clear contrast. Every Apple story creates a vivid distinction between two types of people: those who get it and those who don't. The Mac versus PC campaign is the perfect example of this approach. Imagine two people standing side by side. One represents your ideal client who works with you. The other represents someone who chooses your competitors. How would you visually represent these two identities? What story would you tell about each? Jobs understood that a powerful story doesn't just attract your ideal customers, it actively repels the wrong ones. This creates a stronger identity bond with your true audience. But here's where most businesses go wrong. They try to appeal to everyone. They water down their story to avoid alienating potential customers. And in doing so, they fail to create a powerful identity connection with anyone. The most valuable brands in the world don't try to be for everyone. They tell stories that create clear identity contrast. Research in consumer psychology shows that brands with clear identity positioning command price premiums 2-3x higher than those competing primarily on features or benefits. Point 5. How to apply Apple's storytelling formula to any business. Now let's talk about how you can apply this exact framework to your own business, regardless of your industry. Identify your villain. What is the enemy in your client story? It could be an outdated approach, a common misconception, or a frustrating experience. Define it clearly. For example, if you're a marketing consultant, your villain might be outdated marketing tactics that waste budget without producing measurable results. Position your client as the hero. How do you empower your clients to overcome their challenges? Remember, you're not the hero, you're the guide. Craft your identity story. What identity do your ideal clients aspire to have? How does working with you reinforce that identity? Imagine your ideal client watching your marketing content or reading your website. What story are you telling them about who they are and who they can become by working with you? Create contrast. How are you different from typical options in your industry? Don't be afraid to take a stand against conventional approaches. The reason this framework works so effectively is that it taps into fundamental human psychology. We all make decisions based on identity and belonging. By crafting a story that speaks to identity rather than just features, you create an emotional connection that transcends logical comparison. Let me show you a real example. I worked with a business coach who was struggling to stand out in a crowded market. Instead of talking about his coaching methodology or results, we crafted a story about visionary entrepreneurs who refuse to follow conventional business advice. Within 60 days of implementing this identity-based storytelling approach, his client acquisition cost dropped by 40%, while his average client value increased by 65%. The power of the right story is undeniable. Point 6. The one mistake most people make when trying this approach. There's one critical mistake I see most businesses make when attempting to use Apple's storytelling formula: inconsistency. Apple's genius isn't just in the story they tell. It's in the consistent reinforcement of that story across every touchpoint. From product design to packaging to retail experiences to marketing, every element reinforces the same core narrative. If you tell a powerful identity story in your marketing, but then fail to deliver that same story experience in your actual product or service, you create what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. This inconsistency breaks trust and damages your brand. For Apple, the premium unboxing experience, the minimalist design, the intuitive interfaces, they all reinforce the core story of sophistication and simplicity. Nothing contradicts the narrative. Think about your client's entire journey with your business. From first discovering you to becoming a loyal customer. Is your story consistent at every touch point? Or are there moments where your actions contradict your narrative? This is why Apple has been able to build a $3 trillion brand while maintaining some of the highest profit margins in their industry. Their story isn't just marketing. It's built into the DNA of everything they do. Conclusion. Let's recap what we've learned about Apple's $3 trillion storytelling formula. Apple's success comes from telling a story about identity, not products. Their four-part framework includes villain identification, hero empowerment, identity reinforcement, and a simplicity promise. They weaponize identity by creating clear contrast. The key to their success is consistency across all touchpoints. Here's the most important takeaway. This approach isn't just for tech giants with massive budgets. Any business, regardless of size or industry, can implement this exact framework to create stronger connections with clients and command premium pricing. You might be thinking, but my business/industry is different. The beauty of story-based marketing is that it works because it taps into universal human psychology that transcends specific industries. Whether you sell coaching services, physical products, or B2B solutions, human decision-making is driven by the same core psychological triggers that Apple has mastered. If you're ready to transform your marketing with the power of storytelling, here's what I want you to do next. Take one core offering in your business. Apply the four-part framework we discussed. Craft a story that speaks to your ideal client's identity. Share your results in the comments below. In the next video, I'll show you how a freelancer used this exact framework to land a $50,000 client with a simple story shift. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. If you found value in this breakdown, hit the like button and share it with someone who could benefit from Apple's storytelling secrets. Remember, products are easy to copy, but a powerful story creates an emotional connection that competitors can't replicate. That's how you build a brand that stands the test of time. See you in the next video.